When I look at my relationship with Hindi cinema, growing up in the mid 2000s, where I had some sense of the world or some understanding of my likings, I realized that I just like the act of going to the theater and watching something. And in the process, I have watched a lot of stuff. Many of you may not even remember. I remember being cursed by my friends for taking them for the Shahid Kapoor and Ajay Devgan starrer Shikhar. I remember my mother giving me an earful because I dragged her for the Aftab Shivdasani and Greasy Singh starrer Muskan, which had like 6 songs before even the interval. I remember sitting through Zinda and my elder brother showing off that he saw the pirated DVD of the original South Korean film. I remember sitting through Rudraksh, presumably India's answer to sci-fi, and being bewildered on how terrible the special effects were. The point being that I just loved going to the cinema. It was just a weekly ritual, and while the Khans, Hrithik Roshan, Shahid Kapoor and the likes of Priyanka Chopra, Aishwarya Rai, Preeti Zinta and Rani Mukherjee thrived, there was also a batch of actors that showed great promise, were very talented, but never catapulted into becoming stars. And while the environment today allows for you to have various avenues of income with the advent of social media and streaming platforms, many of these actors with a dismal run at the box office or just a mediocre slate of films would find themselves jobless as the industry would deem you unfit. While the system today allows for those ignored to have some individual power, in the mid 2000s, people were dependent on the gatekeepers to be employable. A career in films was almost coveted, and the only alternatives were TV advertisements and ramp and print modeling. Landing TV advertisements would often be dictated by the level of success of your film careers, and while modeling was hugely respected versus the terrible state like it is today, where every other random influencer is being a showstopper for legendary fashion designers, it was not monetarily as promising as the films. So I just want you to see this video with a level of empathy for the lost batch of actors from the mid 2000s. They are not technically lost, they're thriving in their own ways, but I want to provide you genuine and real context because the mediums of entertainment were just a select few back in the day versus the huge gambit of options we have today. We like to see our formative years with the rose-tinted glasses of nostalgia, but it wasn't as beautiful as one may presume. Some of these people, in my opinion, were just good actors in the wrong era of films or were just the cause of their own downfall. Vivek Oberoi. I'll start with the most contentious and talked about example from that era. Everyone in retrospect only thinks about the infamous press conference against Salman Khan that led to his slow ostracization from the industry, while Vivek reflects on the impact of the scandal and how the industry had genuinely gone MIA on him. If you were to actually look at his filmography, he has had multiple releases across the years, but what people forget is that most of these projects were financial duds. And if the biggest contributing factor to you getting consistent work is box office revenue, Vivek went from being the next big thing in Bollywood to a talent who was slowly dwindling in popularity and commercial appeal. You would have a financially successful venture like Shootout at Lokhandwala and Krish 3, but nowhere in comparison to being considered in the big leagues. Consistent failures as a lead in the form of Kisna, Home Delivery and Prince, and even ensemble cast projects like Omkara and Qurban were terribly failing. Nothing was more of a low, however, when Vivek started featuring in films like Zilla Ghaziabad and Grand Masti. From the anecdotes I hear, however, especially of actively working directors, there was a sense of air and arrogance that definitely did creep in with Vivek, actually producing a laundry list of blockbuster films that he rejected. I know he's in the news more often these days regarding his business ventures, slightly too in your face with shoving down of wealth in our faces, mind you. Irrespective, more power to him, but let's be honest. The promise Vivek showcased initially was so overwhelming. Wherever he reached after that was going to be less than what we foreshadowed for him. I still remember the craze he caused with Satya and company, man. Maybe starting with such a bang can make you assume that you're going to rule here, and precisely that can only cheese off people. I know a newbie actively working today who with his first film thinks he's the and by the way, people are really annoyed of him. Malika Sherawat. This woman has had one of the most interesting, unique and rollercoaster rides of her career. So much so that I believe she can actually have a solo episode because her journey is also reflective of the evolution of Indian society and what was considered taboo at one point of time, but is now normalized, at least in mainstream media. It genuinely takes confidence and a level of tenacity to deal with the level of criticism and mocking Malika dealt with at the prime of her career. What's the most heartbreaking is the level of judgment she received from within the industry and beyond for being bold enough to do murder so early on in her career. This is the time where it used to be a huge deal if the hero and heroine kissed one another in a film. It was such a time of being a prude that it was actually not called a kiss but a lip lock. When mainstream actors like Preeti Zinta and Saif Ali Khan in Salam Namaste and Hrithik and Aishwarya in Dhoom 2 kissed each other, the media could not ask beyond that intimate scene. Malika, contrary to popular opinion, showed her mettle as an actor in multiple films. I enjoyed her thoroughly in comedies like Pyar Ke Side Effects and Ugly or Pugly. This was a woman of ambition, starring opposite Jackie Chan in 2005 in a movie titled The Myth, and catching everyone's attention at the Cannes Film Festival. Imagine being an Indian representative at the Cannes Film Festival and being mocked by your own media for saying the truth about the dismal state of women in society. I don't know what happened in the 2010s, but there seems to be an international kida that Malika was bit by, wanting to make her name in Hollywood, featuring in embarrassing projects like Hiss and The Politics of Love, and weirdly and very oddly convincing the world she has personal ties with Barack Obama. The work just became few and far between as the years passed by, but with the recent appearances in films, it's such a clear indication that she always had it, a presence, a confidence, but maybe she stayed away in this journey, focusing elsewhere versus probably what she should have done, cementing her career in the home turf. I must say, as I reflect on her journey, I commend her persevering to never bow down to all the bullying. Kunal Kapoor. This is a man who has all the markings of a star, tall, dark and handsome. I mean, look at the man even today, and he looks like he can mark his film debut. But what happens to such a talent that he isn't even reduced to a mid-tier level of an actor, but someone we see in a blue moon? I mean, he is credited as a co-founder of the crowdfunding platform Keto, so that may be keeping him busy, but what leads to a man who impressed us with a film like Rang De Basanti to just not catapult into stardom? I really have to owe it to the infamous 3-film curse, which either reduces your talent to oblivion or makes them stars. There is no in between. Kunal Kapoor signed a 3-film deal with YRF, doing a movie like Laga Chunri Mein Daag, Aaja Nachle and Bachna Hai Hasino, supporting roles and, let's be honest, mid-films. And what happened in the subsequent years is just mediocre movies that are just blips in the discourse. A lovely small film like Love Shavte Chicken Khurana gets no attention, and our man becomes a supporting chap in films like Dawn 2 and Dear Zindagi. A man who came after a 3-year hiatus to star as Babar in The Empire, and despite its technical prowess and scale, it left no imprint in marking an epic comeback. Thankfully, Kunal is starring in a list of films that include a project with Amir Khan, a Siddharth Anand directorial, and presumably a Telugu film also, but the man is literally carved like a Hindi film hero, who just did not get the epic boost into stardom. Isha Sharwani. This may be an unpopular opinion, and maybe I have a bias because I had the most massive crush on this actor, but Isha Sharwani with her debut from Kisna made me notice that this talent is beyond just a pretty face. A classically trained dancer who was just such a breeze in a movie like Luck by Chance. She recently featured in an interview with Siddharth Kannan, which really left me with mixed feelings, as it's so representative of an actor just being lost at the time where a lot of mediocre content was being flung her way. This was the era of films where one was just instructed to be active in the industry, otherwise a perception would be created that the new talent has a lot of attitude. If I were to even name the films that she featured in, like Rocky the Rebel, Good Boy Bad Boy and Darwaza Band Rakho, you would realize that she was typecast into the role of the beautiful girl next door. While she took a hiatus from films in Mumbai as the 2010s rolled around the corner, she actively works with her mother in her dance company and announced publicly of being available to act in films. This reminds me of what Neena Gupta once said, of posting on Instagram that she is available for roles, because if she had not done the same, there was literally a perception created that one distanced themselves from the industry. Such a bona fide talent who I was in awe of in Jhalak Dikla Ja, one of the best dancers to grace Hindi cinema. Honestly, you should see her hide and seek ad with Hrithik Roshan. It's such a treat. I hope she does get credible work in the future, because as she reflects in that era, she seems to clearly mention that the quality of work and just the style of filmmaking was very outdated. Kunal Khemu. I recently posted Kunal Khemu's photograph from his look in Kalyug and said that he literally looks like a 90s arcade game character, much like Jin from Tekken. And the child actor turned adult actor, I believe, was also stuck in an era where he just found a way to survive. Even though Kalyug was not the ideal launch for an adult actor, Kunal left an imprint in his ability as an artist, especially in movies like Traffic Signal and a very underrated film, by the way, called Superstar. But as I said, survival is key, especially when mediums of entertainment are restricted, and Kunal found solace in ensemble cast comedies like Dhol and Golmaal. Duds like Jai Veeru and Blood Money did nothing for his career as a leading man, and people typecast him as the one funny character among many in the Golmaal franchise. The crazy part is that when given the opportunity to explore his dramatic side, he shined in films like Kalank and Malang. This is still consecutive years of not getting your due. So what does one do when the system does not allow you to truly thrive? You build your own destiny by putting pen and paper to your imagination and how you want stories to be told. Madgaon Express is the start. Something Kunal says came out of the desperation because Go Goa Gone and its sequel was never going to be made. But I am honestly very excited to see how he shapes his directorial career ahead. Esha Kopikar. Siddharth Kannan is now having a knack of opening up memories for me, of an era and talent that I deeply admire through his interviews. Another interaction that left me with a bittersweet feeling was that of Esha Kopikar's reflection of how her career panned over the years. A solid talent that in my opinion was never given the respect of a leading lady and was hence embroiled in consistent mediocre content. Esha Kopikar commenced her career with a list of Telugu, Kannada and Tamil projects. It's crazy how busy she was truly in her initial years in the industry, causing ripples in the Hindi film industry with movies like Amdani Atthani, Kharcha Rupaiya, but causing a true blast with her dance numbers in Company and Kante. As I previously said, there is this mid-forgotten tier of terrible films we are casually forgetting about in this era of the 2000s, and this often created a perception among many of being a flop actor. Esha would star in films like Rudraksh, Girlfriend, Intikam, Darling, Hello, films that keep you busy but will never really catapult you to becoming a leading lady of the big league. She would star in Dawn but was never the leading lady, and she definitely backed her brief appearances with solid acting performances. I know a lot of you consider the movies of the 2000s to be better than today, but you casually forget about a slate of terrible flop films that were consistently made in that era, which also led to many actors becoming irrelevant. Abhay Deol. This is a man we love to reminisce about, because he is the guy who, with his sensibilities, was the perfect match for the new era of directors that marked their place in Hindi cinema. Abhay Deol would feature in movies with Imtiaz Ali, Anurag Kashyap and Dibakar Banerjee, and made us hope that this is the resurgence of Hindi cinema where there can be a genuine marriage between content and commerce. Imagine having a banger like Dev D, and then it was just a mess of sorts. A commercial hit like Zindagi Na Milegi Dobara and critically appreciated films like Shanghai would cause no impact whatsoever. Abhay for some reason suddenly became reduced to cameo supporting roles. His foray to become a producer with the movie 1/2 turned out to become an utter disaster, and then just a slippery slope followed. Movies mostly restricted to the streaming platforms and with nothing to show in the mainstream as a leading man. While Abhi was exceptional in a series like Trial by Fire, it breaks my heart to see him being constrained in this market which has so many possibilities, almost as if the industry is ready for him to burst now, but it's somehow just not happening. When you hear the several bumps and cracks that he has had along this way, leading to many altercations with talent and those in positions of power, maybe some of it is self-induced also, caused by his own stubbornness. It never is a one-way street, but I hope to see more of him as time passes. Shiny Ahuja. This is going to be a contentious topic because the man is known for only one thing versus his acting talent, but I have to tell you that when Shiny Ahuja came to the Bollywood scene, everyone took notice. The man was good looking, had acting talent and featured in compelling work like Hazaro Khwaishein Aisi, Gangster, Wo Lamhe, Bhool Bhulaiya and Life in a Metro. There was an ease with which he performed in front of the camera, but in 2009, Shiny was arrested on charges of detaining and threatening his domestic help, sentenced to 7 years in prison. Despite odd developments of the help wanting to recant her statement of being assaulted, Shiny Ahuja never really returned to the movies despite his brief appearances in films like Ghost and Welcome Back, a career lost due to his own doing and one never really saw him again. Gracie Singh. Imagine having blockbusters like Lagan, Munna Bhai MBBS and Ganga Jal at the start of your career. Is there something known as peaking too early? Gracie Singh was the simple leading lady who just gave you wholesome vibes, and all her appearances were confident in front of camera, holding her ground even with established stars, and one wondered that only the sky is going to be the limit. But imagine the trajectory of your career if in 2003 you're doing Munna Bhai MBBS and in 2008 you're doing Deshdrohi. Something oddly and weirdly went terribly wrong. Some Malayalam, Telugu and Hindi films followed in the 2010s, but almost to no one taking notice. and slowly and steadily, Gracie actively left the limelight. In her last stint thriving as Santoshi Ma on television, but having gone fully in the spiritual route with the ISKCON temple. More power to her for this journey, but I genuinely reminisce about the grace, beauty, and ease with which she carried herself in the initial slate of films. Sometimes you grow out of love with things, I guess, or you just evolve into a different person. I wonder whether that will happen to all of us someday too. Manisha Koirala. This is an actress who was ruling in the 90s, but still never was considered in the big leagues, always somehow getting the tag of being underrated. An actress who always had a command on her craft, and you could never really fault her for her performances. With brief and forgettable appearances in the early 90s, Manisha really rose to fame with movies like 1942 A Love Story, Bombay, Agni Sakshi, and Indian, a formidable talent who was getting consistent offers through the late 90s. There was a natural gravitas and sadness about her eyes that almost made her seem like a perfect fit for the worlds of Khamoshi and Dil Se. However, as the 2000s rolled around the corner, Manisha's appearances in commercial cinema became few and far between, somehow appearing in a slate of B-grade terrible films that included the likes of Jani Dushman, Market, Tum, A Dangerous Obsession, and Chahat Ek Nasha. Somehow the actress who we once saw feature opposite stars like Amir Khan was reduced to showcasing sleaze on camera. With her appearance in Booth Returns in 2012, Manisha almost disappeared from the movies for 3 years. With the recent success of Hira Mandi, Manisha equates to her failings in her movie career to alcohol addiction, a terrible personal life, and some of her own doing, of not assimilating and egos coming to play. Even though in films now, Manisha has been reduced to becoming a mother for stars like in movies like Sanju and Shehzada, it's still lovely to see her thrive in a story like Hira Mandi, and we would love to see more of the same. And that was the video, guys. And write down in the comments below who comes to your mind when you think about the lost batch of stars of the 2000s. Please don't forget to follow me on Instagram. The handle's right in front of you. Follow me at JammyPants4. Also, please support us by smashing the like button and subscribing to our channel for weekly content ahead. Thank you for watching.